Alright, welcome to Just Morpheus Gaming. I have, had some time. I was originally thinking I'd go back to programming, but I wanted to continue my Dwarf Fortress save. Sorry, I was trying to think and talk, and sometimes that doesn't seem to work the greatest. But this should be my save. Yeah. So left it with the bear that was swimming out into the ocean, and I was pretty abashed about, where I left my squads in. My last game I played, I was all over the place. So one of the things I wouldn't mind doing is re-upping my equipment, because I did things like, in the details here, I had this guy drop his shield. New shield. I should just be able to say, any metal. And the other one was, I assigned him a short sword on this one. The other guy had individual choice melee, and I'd rather have him individual choice basically anything. So, new weapon, individual choice weapon. And that should actually be the same for my other guy. I suppose giving him the short sword, I can just say choose your own weapon. Individual choice weapon. And yeah. With that, add a couple tasks here for some meals. I wouldn't mind being able to get the overflow going, because once the bar food's full, it'll actually start filling up in here, and that's where I want to be. Trying to figure out the next best place to start. I was originally looking at splitting out the wood, and got kind of sidetracked with making the prison. So let's, in a way, finish out part of that, because I need to construct, it's a cage restraint, rope chain, and I can replace it later. Once it's actually up, I will build, construct. I need almost like an office right next to it that's for the interrogation part, I guess. I was trying to figure out it's for the warden. I can actually probably just stop this here. Just questioning the legitimacy of finishing off that entire sector. Just mirror it down. I will put back on some work orders, or just a new task that's the make rock block, and tell it to be the 50 type. Yeah, I'm already feeling rusty, and it's only been a month. But yeah, I'm glad to be getting back to it. I did want to finish off building this out. I don't see anybody running these boulders, even though they should be. Looks like I'm still short on wheelbarrows. And wrong one. And I will just configure this at this point, because I always want some empty wheelbarrows on hand. As long as I have 3 logs and less than 3 wheelbarrows, make 3 wheelbarrows. Just forgot the final part there. Yes, make the 3. I need to start getting in a way metal smelting up. I do have that cage that I initially intended to melt down. I don't necessarily have a lot for ore at this point. It started raining. So one of the things I was actually looking to cover is burrows. In order to keep people from just hanging out outside that have no job, or more importantly, the kids. I have a great story about, I had a were-bunny disaster in one of my forts, and so I'm going to start by just setting up a new burrow. I would like my kids to basically always be in the burrow. So there's some people I don't even want to leave the fort ever. And I've had a lot of success with burrows. You kind of have to micromanage them in some ways. Especially if like doing it like this, where it's like they aren't going to be able to mine outside of this if the burrow's active. I could just do a blanket area, but depending on what they do, yeah, it depends on how much you want them. You can also go multiple levels at once and it'll do them all, just so this is less painful. But at this point, if I set up this as like my main burrow, that's all of my current area, then I can tell my kids not to leave here, and they won't. I can also do the same for my normal people, but my hunters need to be exempt from it, and my soldiers need to be exempt from it, and same with the people that tend my animals. What I will end up doing is building like an upper fort that is part of my burrow. So I'll have like inside my fortress and outside of my fortress, so that I can just be like stationed in my burrow, and my people that are outside, even if they're like gathering plants, they will run into the fortress once it's set. So, oh, and you can double click for it to autofill the area, which is nice. Burrow one. And then assign people. Repaint this burrow. Nobody's selected. So my kids won't leave the fort. And that will help keep them, I guess, happy. They won't be going outside. I was wondering the legitimacy of just assigning these people inside, but I need my people that tend my animals at this point to still be able to access the outside. Where's that bear? He's still just working on leaving the map. That's quite the swim. I was almost chuckling at that the other day about dwarves are strong. I mean, I gave him like basic armor and no weapon. He wrestled that bear to the ground and came away basically unscathed. The bear was like, yeah, no, I don't want anything to do with that. Stung by a bumblebee. Let me start processing the shale. Surprised people haven't ran these boulders down yet. And I'm already starting to work into my sandstone stockpile here. Constructs, build, workshop. I was looking for stoneworker. So there's a couple ways that I can say basically pull from the stockpile. I can just say pull from the stockpile. Or I can say only work with the slate, because this is shale. So work orders, make rock blocks. And here I can set the type on the question mark part. Make shale blocks, 10. What I was actually going to do is at this point, if the amount of shale blocks is less than 10, make 10. And the amount of shale is 10. I should set up a stockpile for my shale blocks. I need to make some more bins. So buried in stone and clay should be shale. And with that, I almost need to check my other block pile here and exclude shale blocks from here. Which, at a certain point, they do try to already separate those, but keeping the blocks... Interesting, I have some siltstone I've processed. They're definitely busy getting that worked through. These couple blocks seem to be locked. People don't seem to be... The kid's unhappy. Which is interesting because it seems like everything's pure happy thoughts. And I will zoom back in. Not sure actually where base is. Does it tell me? In a way that is confusing to me. Oyster remains. So I don't have a remains pile? At this point I'm almost going to have to be getting a crusher up, because that's my thought I set up a remains pile that was away from my fort. I maybe got sidetracked on it. So, the garbage dump, because I could flag them all for dumping and do it that way. I need a place for... I'm just going to double check. There's not a lot of land here. I should be able to say something like all refuse and corpses. Other than hair and wool, horn and hooves, I can start processing the remains. I was just questioning the legitimacy of, in my craft shop, view stockpile, repaint you bigger, mine out this area. You know, I was looking to move my crafting down into here. Resume? Somebody was standing there when they went to build it. Floor. That will finish off my office, or a couple more bedrooms. Furniture. I need basically... Oh. Board kitty. Table. I want a chair. And there's a... the reason I'm going through all this effort to get up a prison cell and the sheriff was because they wanted somebody to be able to complain to. If you set up the punishment system, like if I set a sheriff before declaring a prison, then the punishment results into like beatings instead of like timeouts. And depending on who you have doing the administration of the punishment, it can be like brutal. Like, oh yeah, no, one of my really strong dwarves, you don't want somebody that's like a master fighter. Because it was like, oh yeah, I accidentally killed my prisoner. There's things that can happen with the punishment system if you don't get it set up in a way. Because yeah, you declare what's called a hammerer to deliver punishment. That's how the dwarves deal with breaking the law, or it depends on what the offense is. There's a legal system associated with it. Going back to like there's interrogations, you can question people, and yeah, it isn't. There's a huge dynamic because ultimately, like I'll get relics, and people will try and plot to steal the relics. And at this point, I should be able to finish declaring these offices, though, because this can be an office for my. I should almost look this up because is it the sheriff or? So I have an office, and I need the dungeon. All right. So now when I go into my administration, under justice, I should have... I thought that's actually where you saw how many, like, prisons you have and how many, like, places you have. So the sheriff and the hammerer. The hammerer is the one that actually administers the justice. And that's where having somebody that's old and weak wouldn't be a bad idea. A weaver, and just because he has a white beard doesn't mean he's old either. I guess that is partially prejudice I just made there. And then I need the sheriff. And I don't think that can double with the militia commander. He can. So my militia commander can be the sheriff. Yeah, at this point, that's set up. What I was going to look to do here was make like an oyster stockpile. Because if I go into refuse and I want shells, I'll take all shells. Should knock that out. I did not automate the shell blocks. At this point I have a bunch though. Work orders, shell blocks. Yeah, I did. No, I've just finished the first batch. Started raining. Hasn't stopped raining yet. As soon as it stops raining, I was looking to finish building some of the upper castle. I was just questioning why nobody's hauling the, like, oyster shells down here. Muscle remains. This is all rotten. I'm wondering if I'm not processing it as I should be to get the shells out. So all corpses and basically all the refuse. I'm not sure why my people aren't actually moving that over, but I'm glad they're not at this point. Otherwise that's a bunch of outside work in the rain. I'll be happy when spring's over. We are now in early summer. I should have assigned some zones. They might have already self-assigned. Militia commander. So why does my hammer not have one? Why does it say it's overlapping? There's 2 offices there. Remove that one. Assign that to my militia commander. That's my bookkeeper. I need another office for... Looking for the hammer. Did assign that, right? Wool block. Looks like he doesn't need a office. My expedition leader does. Very much so. And so some of my people already have unmet needs. My militia commander wants his own dining area and some chests. So... The easiest way in some ways to do that is to like split into the 3-room setup that I had before as opposed to the block housing like this. Or I can just overpaint them, which is what I'll plan to do. Alright, I want an office. In this case for my expedition leader. And I want you for the hammer. And on the note of chests, most people want chests in their room. I just have to get that under automation with my stone cutters. And chests are called coffers, and when they're of stone. When they're of wood, they are called a chest. They're the same, they're synonymous, if you will. I don't need a whole bunch of these on hand, but I do want them on hand. At a certain point, I can move these to global jobs so they don't have to be picked up by these workstations. That does allow things like my shale is just doing shale. And it is still raining. Just wondering about the legitimacy of upping this order. If I have less than 50? 50 of those, 10 of those. Because I will start going through the outside materials quickly once I start going to do that. Just questioning, I should, in a way, look to improve my temple area some too. A little surprised I'm short on those blocks. One of the things about having... There's inefficiencies with keeping all the stone types in the same blocks. I don't know why those shale blocks are still there. They're chert blocks, that's why. I didn't block the wrong one, right? Shale chert. It's a shale cavern floor? The block type is chert? No. I'm feeling confused at this point. Chert. Shale cavern floor. Moving on. Alright, I'm definitely feeling better about having... Why is my fish processing not working? Because I thought I had a fishery. And my fish processing should be... Do do I not have a fisher and laborer? Boom, boom. That's why I'm not processing any of my fishing stuffs. I thought I actually had a fisher dwarf. Mason, miner, my leatherworker maybe? It is a full-time profession, and my cook. I do have a fisher dwarf. So with that being said, why under labor, standing orders, automatically process fish, automatically clean fish, and mussels count as fish? Let me just try and catch, extract from raw, prepare raw fish. I think it's just prepare raw fish. And if they like instant bail out, so there is no raw fish for me to, needs unrotten raw fish. So the oyster remains, I don't know, for some reason that's starting to bother me. I can tell them to just dump it. I need to wait for summer, or not summer, for it to quit raining because I want to build more of my outside fort. Alert. A human caravan has arrived. I need a trade depot because I actually dismantled that. Trade depot. Happy to see people though. Just questioning the legitimacy of not specifying the block types. So with that, they will now start heading over here. And yeah. I don't have a lot necessarily to trade. Just trying to figure out what the easiest way to get some of my trade materials up. This isn't the normal dwarven caravan, so this is a surprise trade. And I'm looking forward to it. I do have, going back to a bunch more cut gems. I'm glad I got that under automation. Because I want gem bin, it's a pine number 5. So if I go into move goods, bins, under pine, there's going to be a number 5. It's worth a bunch. And then yeah, after this I'll probably call it. Just looking at the 33 minutes since last save. And with that, my broker requested a depot and construct wall. Clear shale. So I was looking to try and build my area out a little bit. In order to actually do a hop like that, I'm going to have to take down that lower area and I'm going to have to clear some of these trees. I wouldn't mind doing something probably like that and tell my wood people to get to work. Because yeah, at this point it has quit raining. That's good to be left. That's good to be left. I can cut it just because it happens to be over, I think I might. Yeah, that's going to be a bunch of work. Quit raining. My people need to get to work. So you're at the trade depot and I can trade now. Boom, boom, boom. Laminate clay, rope, flasks. Just in a way questioning the legitimacy of, let's see what all they have. Musical instruments would be good. People that hang out. I don't know why a dingo bone versus a dog bone would be different because it looks like they're the same quality. I don't understand all of the quality measures. I can get a crow for 40 and it comes with a lay pewter cage. The one thing about, I don't know why I wouldn't do that because a lay pewter cage, just more and more. It's because the quality of the metal's cheaper, but it doesn't matter if I smelt it. Wine? I'll pick up some variety. The one thing is that the humans will have actually different types of material. They'll have weapons that are unique to their race, like bows. Normally I make crossbows, two-handed swords. If I have humans that end up joining the fort and I draft them into the military, I have to get them like human weapons, which are full-size weapons. Or yeah, back to clothes. Large. That's why these are labeled large, is none of this stuff will fit on my dwarfs. Like the shields and stuff will. Questioning, picking up like a buckler. More material, large iron cap. Just wondering if that's going back to that's a large. None of this stuff will fit my dwarves. Normally I'd pick up like cheap chests. What do we have for materials here? Radish seeds. I can plant radishes. Hemp flour. Barley flour. If I can pick up some leather cheap, I'd be very happy to do so. Let me see what I can make sure I have enough to get you into the... Oh yeah, plenty enough to get you into the grain. Because at this point I'm actually starting to get some material back. And just keep kind of running that. Yeah. I can probably take all of their leather and cloth. Large gem, anvils. I will pick up an anvil. I should have plenty of anvils. And depending on what I can pick up for foodstuffs, I will pick up all sorts of foodstuffs. The fish I should be able to do myself. Going back to like the turtle shells, some of the stuff, like the mussels, if my people get turned into a fey mood, or whatever, they get possessed, I might need some materials that I don't have on hand that it's good to pick up early. And like this is all just life for my fortress. I'm getting really close to being able to not afford it. Thread, trousers, skirts, backpacks, quivers, cheese? I do actually have a couple more. Dwarves like their cheese. It makes for higher quality food. I can start making lavish meals, which is the end idea here. And if I can pick up a couple splints and cheap, I'll do that too. So with that, they should be happy. I'm happy. Confirm. I am going to cancel this job and make that a door. And I think I'm actually going to leave that as sandstone. I was originally going to make this area up here shale floor, but I'm not sure it'll look good black on black. Going back to being a little pedantic. It is, I was going to say pedantic, but it's also my fault. I wanted to look, now I can put a door on top of it. Oh, I also want to get my miners to clear that slope and this slope. Because then I can actually put a piece of stone in there and connect the wall through. And then I'll make like a drawbridge here for access to my main trade depot. That isn't really a lot of green area for my pastured animals. I was just looking, I think I need to redo my pasture because my pasture goes outside my wall now. But I can paint it on the next level up. So, not remove, repaint, erase, nix that area. And then unerase, and I can add in. So you can't actually span zones like that or span levels. I can create another pasture up here that houses some of my animals though. And that's not a lot of pasture area. And some of that's actually not even valid. It's a little hard to see. Because none of that's valid. I need to get this tree out of there. Let's look to like move my rabbits and my smaller animals up here. At a certain point I will have to split up my animals and start doing management for like getting food together. Add new task. At this point I should be able to make some lavish meals. And I am curious because I think they can actually, in the siege update, they can actually just break straight through the wall. If I tried to like put a drawbridge here, the mechanics of the game have changed. And I'm curious to see how some of this works. But I want to get my main area up. Yeah. There is DF hack helps, and then I'll actually call it right after this. So with DF hack, I can basically tell it to start building this, and they'll like lay this block and then lay the next one, and they won't try to like get caught in between. Normally, you'd almost have to like build scaffolding if I wanted to build like another layer on top without having to floor all of this. At a certain point, I don't necessarily mind flooring that, but I will have to like take out all of these trees if I want to floor that. I was kind of questioning the best way to handle that. If I floor it, then I can call this in the fort, and even if it's raining, they can still manage my animals. And I'd almost have to then do the same thing for this area up here. So I'll end up with like a multi-layer fort. I don't know. Either way, I am really happy with how it's coming together. At this point, I have plenty of food and water in the fortress. Plenty of seeds. Yeah, everything is starting, I think, to come together. Automation is working on multiple levels. I'm glad to be getting the up above the fort finally together, because I need to get that, and before it's like 60 people. Some of this stuff I don't know off the top of my head. But at a certain point, once my population gets large enough, I'll start getting raided. But yeah, with that, I am going to call it and look forward to doing some Dwarf Fortress in the future.